video, we're going to see how PBA.pro can give a visual indication of a single bit in the data stream on a 1553 bus. The 1553 hardware is represented by this icon, so we'll have a look at it now. For this example, I've configured the bus controller capability inside the 1553 card to be active, but if you have an external bus controller, then you don't need to do anything with this node. In fact, depending on the hardware and software configuration, you may not even have this node. But for now, we're going to skip over the bus controller and focus on the remote terminals. In the notes preceding this video, we talked about how remote terminal 3 is going to be transmitting to remote terminal 4. And we can see that I have both of these already turned on with simulation. Now, if you have actual real RTs out there on the bus, and you just want to look at the data and get it into PBA.pro, then you would set the mode to mailbox, like this, on both of them. And what mailbox does is it allows PBA.pro to look at the data, but it doesn't act on the bus as any of those RTs. But for this example, because I don't have any external remote terminals attached, I'm going to set these to simulation mode, which is to say the remote terminal capability inside the 1553 card will be used to simulate an external remote terminal with all the correct responses to the bus controller and that sort of thing. So for the moment, we're going to skip over remote terminal 3. We just said that it's transmitting data, and remote terminal 4 is going to be the one that's receiving. So we'll expand this and have a look at the receive subaddresses. And receive subaddress 12 is the one that's enabled with this on. As an example, I'll just show you how easy it is. Here's receive subaddress 10, and to turn it on, I just double click here and set it to on. It's just that simple. So I'll turn that back to illegal the way it was, and we'll focus on receive subaddress 12, which is right here. So we expand this node and we look at the data buffer. We want to add a parameter to this data buffer. So I right click on it, and in the context menu I hit create parameter, and that takes us to the parameters tab. Earlier I mentioned that the parameters tab is database centric, which is basically human readable and human understandable engineering units and names laid on top of the raw data stream that's on the data bus. So let's see, it says parameter 1, but we had talked about simulating something like oil pressure, let's say. So we click that and we type in oil pressure receive, and these other values here are default. They're fine for the time being, except for this format. We want it to be a binary format so we can look at the bits. So we click it and it just pops up as binary, which just happens to be the top of a list of a bunch of different formats that you can have, but binary is the one that we want. And then if you click down here in an empty spot, it brings up a format option related to this binary format that we just specified. So what we have here is a byte length of 4, but we really need it to be 2, because in 1553 a word is defined as 16 bits, which is 2 bytes. So there you go, we've defined it. That's all there is to it. I can close the window and it stays right there. The window just defines it. It doesn't matter if the window stays open or not. So now I'll go back up here to the hardware resources tab. I'm going to temporarily close this, and now we want to click on the stylized A, which is the assign window. We're going to open up the assign display. The assign display can be thought of as a way to view and or manipulate data that's going out on the bus or coming off of the bus. So right now we just want to look at data, and the data we want to look at is that oil pressure parameter that we just created. So the way you look at it is you drag and drop it in there. Boom, there it is right there. So if you have remote terminals that are external, they're probably already running. For this example, I'm using the simulated ones internal to the 1553 hardware. So I'm just going to start them right now. Click. All right, they're running. And then I'm going to start the bus controller likewise. Again, if you have it externally, it's probably already running and you won't need to do this for yours. And then the data just starts showing up. And we see there's a bunch of bits right there. Okay, that's nice. Now, what we want to do is set up a display, a visual indicator of this bit right here, the one that's right up above the tip of the arrow. That's bit number 3, as if you were numbering from 0 and counting up 0, 1, 2, 3, bit number 3. So you click on this f of x icon that allows you to define a function. Now, I've got a function already over here on this other screen, so I'm going to grab it right now. So you don't have to watch me type it in, I'm just going to paste it in there. And there it is. So it's just some little pseudocode. Check bit is like a local variable, and you set it equal to the raw value, or value raw, with a logical AND against 8. And then if that bit turns out to be 0, we're just going to use regular black text on a white background. And if it's on, we want the visual indicator to be white text on a green background. Okay, it's as easy as that. Now, if you're not sure, hey, what's this value raw thing again? You go down here and click function help, and it'll explain to you. Here's value raw. It's one of several different values offered by this parameter object. And there's more information down here that's pretty useful, and you can go to look at that when time permits. But for right now, since we have this code running, it should actually be running right now and changing the colors. And there it is. Every time this bit, the one right up above the mouse, turns to a 1, you get the green background indicator. And of course, you can choose any color you want. And you might wonder, well, what colors are there? If you type down here in this Python script command window, you can type browse colors. A window comes up, and all of these names are defined in some sort of internet standard, or I don't know, some kind of standard. So PBA.pro recognizes all of these names, and you can just pick out your favorite ones and just type them in there, and that's where we get the colors. So there you go.